Novo Nordisk is back as the most valuable company in Europe after a super performance over the last months of plus 20%. The stock is back at some interesting price, around $81. So in this video, you will discover why the company went up and is it still a nice moment to buy the stock? Is it still a nice moment to invest in Novo Nordisk? So the first reason why it went up is because they are progressing on some very important trial, okay? The amicretin, it's advancing to phase 3 study and they would like to launch the study on the first quarter of 2026. Amicretin is important because it's a GLP-1 agonist. However, it also imitated another hormone known as amylin, hence its name. And the reason why it's very important is because, first of all, soon in around 2030-32, Wegovy and Ozempic will lose the patent. So they continue to develop to have a new patent and better weight loss drugs. Okay, but here with the amicretin, they report that you can lose around 13% of your weight in 12 weeks. While with Wegovy, it was 15% in 68 weeks. So it's way faster, way more efficient. So now they're still testing about the side effects, obviously, because with Wegovy, you could have some side effect, nausea, and so on. Here, it seems that it could help with the side effect, but now none of this is sure. So this is first like a good news, because if you manage to have 13% in just 12 weeks, you can really have great results in 68 weeks. Plus, it's something that would be way easier to take for people because every week having an injection for 68 weeks, not really nice. But having an injection just for 12 weeks, it's already better. Okay, it's already better. So it probably will be easier to sell and it keeps them in the competition with Lilly. The second reason is that analysts put the estimate a bit up for the earning release, for the next earning release. They are expecting an EPS growth around 30% year over year. So it depends if you take into consideration the currency or no. Okay, ZAX is expecting 35.38% compared to the quarter last year, okay, year over year. And the revenue to grow around 19.45%. On a yearly basis, it will be a 17% growth and a 13, almost 13% growth compared to last year. So it's a pretty solid growth. It's less than what we were expecting a year ago because we're expecting more something close to 20%, but it's still some very solid growth. You have also another reason, which is the activist investors. There is a fund that came and people think, the market is thinking that maybe this fund will replace the new CEO and will pick the new CEO. They're an activist fund, so this is something that was well received by the market. The third reason, it was the company was extremely undervalued. Like Novo Nordisk was really a no-brainer. It was extremely undervalued. So it seems that now the sentiment is shifting. While before every news arriving, whether it was good news or bad news, it will put the stock down. Here, every news arriving, even bad one, put the stock up. So the sentiment really is changing. For example, when the CEO stepped down and the forecasts were lower, the stock went up. While generally when forecasts are lower, the stock don't go up. So we have like a sentiment shift, probably because people realize that Lilly is really expensive. So let's have a look now at the valuation for Novo Nordisk. So if we look at the valuation, if we look at the growth for the next 5 years, we can expect, let's say, 12% growth. For this year, they expect 17%. So I think 12 per year for the next 5 years is pretty conservative, okay? Let's say they will do 1% buybacks every year and they will grow the dividend by 10% per year, okay? We want them at a price ratio of 20. So you will pay their earning 20 times, the PE will be 20. Why 20? Because I like to add 10 from the growth. And I think 20 it's pretty good. For a company like this, 20 is pretty good in the sense that it's a European company, so it will always be a bit less valued than a company like Eli & Lilly. And I don't want to do an assumption with a PE very high, okay, with a PE of 30 and so on, even if in the last 10 years the median was around 30. I don't want to do this, so I think 20 is pretty solid. I prefer to be too conservative and have good news than being too optimistic and then be surprised. So if you want to do 13% per year, the fair value will be $82, okay? Now we are at $81, so we are pretty much at the fair value. You can expect 13.61% dividend included and dividend excluded 12.1%. Now, if we have a better growth, let's say if we have not 12 but 14%, you will do 15%. We can have a look at the price ratio here. Let's have a look at the PE ratio. We are at 22 right now. So in the analysis, in the valuation, we say that it will decline. Okay, we'll have the valuation multiple to decline. So if we look at the PE ratio, now we're around 22. Historically, for the last, at least for the last 10 years, we'll put it to the last 10 years now here. Okay, 10 years will be right here. For the last 10 years, the median was 23. So we are pretty much close to the median. The average 26. If we go back 20 years ago, the median was 22, the average 23. Okay, so we are pretty much around a fair value. In my opinion, right now, for Novo, for the history of Novo, we are pretty much around a fair value at $80. So yeah, I think it can be a good buy if you think the company will increase. But keep in mind that it's a pharmaceutical business. It can be complex, it can be problematic. So if you're unsure, if you have, I don't know, if you don't really like to invest in this area, don't bother. You have plenty of other opportunities on the market. I just think that if you understand the business of Novo Nordisk, if you like it, around $81, it's a nice price to buy. In Danish crown, it will be around 530, I guess, around 530 Danish crown. It's also a nice price to buy and to consider having a position.